I am here with James Coleman, FSU fullback, played in some of the glory days with Bobby Bowden, a whole bunch of legends there inside of Doak. And now, James, I feel like you do a million things, but we're going to talk about Den Media Group here in just a minute. But how you doing, bud?
Hey man, as I always say, minus the bullshit, my life is great.
So let's start out with a little bit of recruiting. Let's keep it at home, right? At Mandarin. We'll start out with what everybody wanted to hear because of what happened here yesterday. When this comes out today, where we're recording, QB1 quarterback Trammell Jones over on a visit to UF. Is that
Mhm.
something Florida State fans should be super worried about, super concerned about? You know, the pessimistic like freak out that this fan base does over everything is always kind of laughable. But thoughts about that?
You know, no. I think for a variety of reasons. One, everybody on our staff. One of the things about Mandarin, shout out to my son's godfather, Toby Bullock, who's the head coach. Played at Marshall. Everybody on our staff has played at a high level, and we coached them at a high level. And I think one of the things that benefits Florida State more than anybody else is Florida State was the first to pull the trigger and saw the trajectory similar to what they saw with Luke Kromenhoff. And if you look at the path that Trammell's following, outside of winning the state championship, going to the state championship in your junior year, being highly regarded, everybody believes he has a chance to win Elite 11. He's growing. So there was that first thing. But I think him playing with South Florida Express this year opened his eyes to a bunch of different things that he didn't really necessarily understand, like you see in the world. And what happens is, as a guy who's been recruited, you know, those recruiting visits are fun, man. Like these are all expense paid trips to go check out other cities and different things. And Trammell hasn't really done a lot of that. He hasn't gone to a lot of other different schools to go to camps. He's been very loyal, been very true to Florida State. And this is just one of the first things that he's done to test. And he's just testing the waters, but he's also very realistic to what Florida has. Florida invested a lot of resources into DJ Lagway. I'd argue they mortgaged their future, whether it be with Billy Napier or not, into this young man. And, obviously you want to try to recruit a quarterback every year. Trammell's looking at that as well as, what are you guys doing? Are y'all going to be here? Like, who's recruiting me now? What's the situation? How are you going to utilize me? So I think they did a decent enough job when he went down with South Florida Express last week. Yeah, last week to go on there and just do some stuff. And, he decided to come check the tires. And if they spoke well enough, depending upon how the season goes, he may take not even the season. I think it'll be shoot if it's not short up this week, it'll be short up by the end of the summer. But he may be entitled to take an OV. But I don't like Trammell's wearing Florida State. When the news dropped and everybody found out about it, Trammell's at practice with Florida State cleats on. Like Trammell loves Tony Tokart, loves Mike Norvell. Obviously, what's funny is the way it's reported, and I get it. I truly get it. You would not know that I coached at Mandarin High School. You would not know that there was a Florida State connection, because outside of them calling me to interview, like to make sure they guys can interview at campus, like nobody talks about it. But me and Trammell talk about Florida State a lot. Me and his dad talk about Florida State a lot, and what it's meant to me, as well as all the guys. But I don't. I talked to some people yesterday, and I said, at the end of the day, continue to do right by Trammell. I believe Trammell will be in the Garden of Gold and still be QB1. And I think once this is passed, he'll be actively recruiting a lot of the guys that he wants.
I want to ask you about a couple of other guys at Mandarin right now, but first I want to hear your thoughts on Norvell found Trammell very early, like you said. First off, did the same thing with Luke. Like they've done a good job of getting in on guys early. I mean, Luke wasn't. I mean, whether they're lowly ranked or, I mean, Luke wasn't even ranked when Norvell offered him. Hadn't even played a down yet at quarterback. Um, just thoughts on how. I mean, for any shortcomings he has, for anything else that he does great, the best might be just the QB evals that are happening at Florida State right now.
In general, especially even with the portal evals, like it's not just the kid and the talent; it's the surrounding factors that come from it. Strong parental influence, a good parental influence. bragging on the Coleman Hawks, who I got a chance to get to know as well because they trained with one of my business partners as well as Trammell did at times. Um, you know, Mr. Coleman Hawk is a phenomenal male figure, male role model. Miss Coleman Hawk is awesome as well. They've instilled great values into that young man to where he's looking at this not just from a fiscal perspective, but from a perspective of what's going to make me a better person in life and what's going to get me where I'm at. Now, flip that to this class. That is exactly what Trammell Jones has. He's a junior. Trammell Jones Senior. Mr. Jones is a very very good man. He asks a lot of pointed questions from everybody who's involved in the process, and the biggest concern is he's like, this isn't a money grab, but it is business. And what he won't do is allow somebody to take advantage of his son or advantage of their situations. And I'm not implying that Florida State's doing that at all. I'm just saying that's like one of the good things is he's taken on that role so that Trammell can become really, really good at what the main thing is one thing we always say, keep the main thing the main thing. You got to play football. Like in order to, if you chase the NFL, NIL will come. If you chase the NIL, the NFL might not come because you're focused on the wrong things. But when you look at what Trammell's had to experience, like we put a lot on Trammell in our offense. Like I tell people that a lot. He'd probably have better stats if we didn't make him think so much. But because we made him think so much, it's what's made him like he is a processing machine. Like last year, we had a perfectly balanced offense. We had 3,300 yards rushing and just over 3,300 yards passing with one of the top offenses in the state, and everything went through Trammell. Like we call the play, but it's a true RPO, run pass option. So Trammell, if we hand the ball off, it's because like his dad would come up and say, "Why didn't we hand the ball off?" It's like, "Well, that was Trammell." He's like, "Well, why didn't we throw it as much?" Because Trammell didn't feel like throwing it. He felt we needed to run in those situations. We tell him what to read, he reads it, gets us out of it. It's great when you have a kid like that because it can get you out of bad plays. Because we're calling from where we're at and trying to get a vibe of the game. So is their defensive coordinator. Sometimes they're going to guess right, but the good thing is having Trammell, and he does that. So I think Norvell is looking at those traits, but he's also looking at who the kid's influences are to determine if this kid is going to be here for the long run. Like, because it's got to be annoying every year. Like, you recruited a kid so hard, you brought him here, and then now all of a sudden, now they're threatening the ideal of being threatened to be in the portal every week. So like, but I don't see that in Trammell. I see Trammell as a competitor, and whatever it takes, like that's what he's going to do in order to get the job. So I think Mike's done a tremendous job in evaluating not just the young men's talent, but evaluating the young men.
Another kid over there at Mandarin, Hilton Drake Stubs, currently committed to Southern Cal. I feel like Southern Cal won the March and April recruiting championship with all of the commitments that they picked up. What are the chances you feel like he ends up somewhere back in the state of Florida, or as opposed to sticking out and signing with USC?
Well, right now he likes LA, and I joked with him yesterday a little bit about all of this stuff, and I'll say this: we have a built-in advantage. His brother's a walk-on at Florida State. I do right by the kid if his brother earns it. We've seen a similar situation with the Dents. Akeem Dent's brother was there as well. Gave him a little scholarship or NIL stuff. I don't really know all of the factors, but we had both brothers on the team at one time. But I think the draw of Florida State, especially if we have another season like we had in 2023 or even 2022, that's going to be hard to turn down. And Drake is an exciting player. Like he is, like Trammell is a little more stoic, what you want. Like doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low.
Sure.
Drake is just fun to be around. Like Drake is like one of my I talk cash money trash to Drake every day. And Drake is talking it back with a big old goofy smile on his face. He's like a big kid. And the cool thing is that means he's still growing. And that means he's going to be something phenomenal. I was actually just watching the 7-on-7 team that he played on. He's the king of these one-handed interceptions, like palming the ball while he's running full speed. Even last year, at one of those national tournaments over the summer, he backhanded intercepted the ball that Trammell threw. And I tell people it's frustrating practicing against a guy like him because we'll never see a guy like him on Friday nights. Like you just have to be like, all right, Drake doing what Drake does. Like no other corner we're going to see. I mean, no other DB will see that could do the things. But what I like him too, he's got a little old school in him. He has no problem going up in there and smacking you in the mouth. He loves physicality. So he's extremely talented. And I said this: if we don't get him out of state. Don't want him. If Florida State don't get Drake, I don't want to see Drake on the football field because it's going to be very weird. He was flirting with Florida real heavy because they're weirdo DC that I don't like. Kind of look like Bobby Hill a little bit, like
Yeah.
I think cosplay Kirby. He looks like a 10-year-old, chunky 10-year-old playing Kirby Smart for Halloween. But he was doing a good job recruiting him, and I was just like, man, it's going to be real weird if I'm in the stands on Thanksgiving and Trammell throws an interception to Drake, and I'm just like, yes, because I really like Drake. Like Drake's a good kid.
Yeah. I want to ask you about one more kid over there. Save the 5-star for last. But first, tell me about Den Media Group. You've got some giveaways going on right now. I'll tease the people a little bit, but tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, big time. What we do is we celebrate the little victory. So every time we hit an increment of 1,000, we give away. Well, we were giving away 10% of that, but now we're doing more. So we're giving away $500 plus $100 to a member, and another however many likes we have. So if we have like 150 likes for that show, we'll give away that once we hit 6,000, then 7,000, the 500, 200, so on and so on. Actually, if we get to 7,000. I was doing this before Battles In. Please support Battles In. I'm not telling you not to go buy that stuff from that website, but if we get to 7,000 subs, I'm giving away all of those different things as well as a brick from Doak Campbell Stadium. It won't be as nice, ain't gonna be in all of this stuff, but it's a legit brick from Doak Campbell Stadium. It's the benefits of having played in Tallahassee. I can got workers that just, hey, I got a bag of bricks. I want to give them to you. I'm like, cool. And then if we get to 10,000 subs before football season, we'll give away a pair. Well, on top of the other things, we'll give away a pair of season tickets and a parking pass to FSU's game. It's pretty dope. I guess the seats are people complain about the people complain about everything. Well, just give me the 10,000 subs and you can win a pair of season tickets, and then you don't have to worry about how much it is. And trust, it will be good seats. It's where my seats are at. So I don't know where they're at yet because I had to redo them, but I like to get pretty close to the field. So that's the giveaways we do. On top of during the season, we give away we do a whole bunch of stuff. We do fantasy football, college pick'em, NFL pick'em, all of that jazz. So just come on over if you want a show about nothing. Like we talk about sports, but it's just in a much more relaxed environment.
Check them out. Den Media Group. I'll link it in the description. Y'all better be going over there and subscribing. It costs nothing to subscribe, so get on over there and show some love. And you might get some season tickets out of it. So, all right, let's talk about the 5-star wide receiver. Was committed to Alabama, Jamie French. Seemed like Florida State had a little traction there, and then seems like maybe some of that is dissipating. I don't know if you have thoughts around that or not. How do you pull a 5-star wide receiver away from Ohio State if they really want him? Is maybe the biggest question that nobody in the world has the answer to. But what thoughts on Jamie French?
Again, it comes down to a situation where when you have a cheat code, you should use it. And I think, people put the information out that they know, and that they go. But I'd say at this juncture right now, we're in April, I'll be shocked if he goes to Ohio State. And I know that's way outside of what everybody else is reporting, but you have to remember who he's a part of. He also plays for South Florida Express, and they, for whatever reason, you say how I'm not going to say why, but they go to Ohio State a lot, and a lot of guys go to Ohio State. They're a pipeline there, and don't get me wrong, he does a really good job of putting wide receivers. And at one time, they put a lot of DBs in the NFL. So, and Jeremiah Smith is up there, but as I've told him, is that you're not Jeremiah Smith. Like Jeremiah Smith, it's not that James not good. It's that Jeremiah Smith is just a different style of receiver than what Jamie is. Jamie is got great body control. He's going to run good routes, big hands. He's your guy that's going to he's going to move your chains. He's not a take the top off the defense type of guy. He's the guy that, like Keyshawn Johnson, would probably be a better example of what I think Jamie French can be and what he can project to be. Again, he's another one of those guys where he has a solid parental. Like his mama is like, you got to recruit mamas out this thing, man. And his mama wants to make sure that her baby is taken care of. And I would argue that FSU isn't as far out as what people think. The way we recruit is just different than the way everybody else recruits. We're from what I'm gathering, we're not the staff that's going to tell you that you're pretty every day. Like we're going to like tell you we want you. We're going to stand on that, and we're going to be here when you're ready to be wanted. And I think those are conversations. And I think just Jamie's really he committed to Alabama, and the way that Saban got him to like Saban got like some button on his door that he pushes. I mean, putting it on his desk and like the door closes or something like that, and then all of a sudden it's just you and him in there, and he's talking about all these guys he's put in the NFL. You see the rings, you see all of this stuff. The man got mesmerizing, and we had another guy at Mandarin a few years ago, Carson Beck, that was committed to Alabama as well before he decommitted, went to Georgia. But Dugas is doing a good job. Dugas is doing what he's supposed to do in regards to recruiting Jamie French. They just got to stay diligent and just wait for the opening. Again, I have these conversations with these guys all the time. He will more than likely take, whether it be multiple unofficial visits over the summer or leading up to it, and potentially, if he doesn't, even if he does commit somewhere else, he will take an official visit during the football season.
James Coleman, Dan Media Group, former FSU fullback. Man, I appreciate you for taking a few minutes and joining me tonight, bud.
Right, anytime.